Doris, and another D, or maybe that's two Dorises. Maybe she's on two devices. And Susie, okay, great. So, so yeah, just so everybody knows, we record these sessions and then we post them on our website later. So if you ever want to go back, per Denise's question just now saying, I'm not really sure what this is, we've had a lot of people dial in every week saying the exact same thing. But they were kind of intrigued and decided to dial in. So Kim and I have known each other, like I said, over 10 years. I had been calling her through multiple sort of life transitions, kind of feeling when my energy was stuck and I wasn't really sure where to go. And I feel like I have a pretty good inner compass anyway, but sometimes you need a little extra help. And we've developed like an incredible friendship over the years. And actually, for those of you that know me, Denise and Jen, you would know, of course, as soon as I meet somebody as talented as Kim, I'm like, how do we start a business from this? So I thought that like day two after meeting her. And then finally kind of came around and said, you know, it doesn't have to be a business, but let's do a collaboration together. I don't know what it is. Now in January, she is the person that helped guide my dad through his death process. And Denise and I were texting actually during that whole time when I was on my way up to Seattle to be with him when he died. And I actually was so focused on my dad, I wasn't even thinking about Kim. My husband said, oh, I wonder what Kim Bellissimo would have to say. And I was just like, forehead slap. Yeah, me too. So called Kim and said, can you be available? And she guided my dad through his death. And I've never witnessed anything like that. And I have no fear of death and dying after that because of what I witnessed. And it's not something you can put into words. So ever since then, we've been very inspired to create conversations together around the process of what we're calling endings and beginnings, because it's not always death of, you know, leaving a body, but we go through endings and beginnings our whole lives. And so getting comfortable and familiar and not afraid of that final ending is a way to access new beginnings in our lives. So that kind of inspired this conversation every Sunday, and we've been taking on different topics and trying to kind of open it up to the group, see what shows up, what people want to discuss, and that's about it. But that's what we want to start with today, is opening it up to see if anybody wanted to bring anything forward that they wanted to discuss. And I know Kim had a really interesting story that she wanted to share. So I will stop talking now. We are recording. And if anybody wants to say what drew them here today or anything that's really present for them right now, be happy to do that. Unless you want to say some other words, Kim, I just kind of dove right in.
No, I think that's perfect. And, you know, we do, this is a collective. So hearing your voice, hearing kind of what's coming up, and everyone is probably experiencing somewhat of a death because we're going through such a big shift and change that it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical death, but it's like, how are we going to show up here in a new way? And so maybe something's come up for people, and we'd love to kind of hear maybe what's come up and kind of move that into what we are working today and what we want to talk about.
I'll share something.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, Kim. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I think for me, there's a lot of death and dying around perfectionism and, you know, things going the way I want them to. And so really trying to honor that today. Kim knows I was part of a virtual retreat today that just crashed and burned on Zoom, but we ended up, you know, taking it a very different direction. But it was challenging to let go of the perfect picture and wanting it to go perfectly and the way we thought it would. So yeah, that's today for me.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that, because I have to say probably, and you'll know, and if it hasn't happened in the past 3 days, a lot of our old, what I call backspace pictures, those pictures that, you know, especially what we want they don't happen kind of what we imagined, even on a body level or a perfect level. You know, I want a successful event. And then something actually shows up totally different. Not that it was your fault, you know, Zoom crashes and then you guys move through it, you know. So and you kind of got your names through it, and we don't necessarily know quite, you know, how it all will come out because you will be creating with it, but it is very disappointing, you know, very disappointing when we have this picture of, you know, what looks perfect. And then the reality is, you know, something that is just so opposite of that. And, you know, that's really raw. And to really be feeling that right now is, I think, really important for all of us. I think all of us can kind of hold you in this space of where we're seeing in our lives that, wow, it's not kind of what I imagined. And for everyone, I bet stuff is coming up. Stuff came up for me yesterday, seeing it, feeling it, and really moving it. Like really the ability to be able to look at this and how is this going to move you forward? How will you use kind of, you know, the raw energy around this to propel you forward in a new way? Because, you know, it's like all of us kind of being on Zoom now, that's going to probably change again. And, you know, and you are so, Susie's amazing. Like she's so amazing. She's so flexible, so creative. She creates all these amazing programs, you know, for people. She's so talented. And so, you know, we're just sending you that wave of care, you know, and love. And I think too, when deaths come, we need that. You know, we need that support. We need just to feel like, okay, I'm going to be cared for, you know, and supported. So let's all of us send that right to your heart, Susie. and even ask the question, what can come out of this? So you see something new, be looking for something new in a day or two. Like something new will come out of this.
Yeah, it's good to walk through. I've never worked on anything that just didn't work before.
Yeah.
You know, the way we thought. So I appreciate all the support and it was a fundraiser, and actually we ended up making another $1,500 today, just because the whole program ended up going on social media. But yeah, it's good to feel it, just to be able to not close down in the face of what's easy to define as failure, and to just stay open with the disappointment, like you said that word, you know.
Yeah. And well, does anyone else want to say anything to Susie, or maybe you've been experiencing, other people have been experiencing similar things?
I was going to jump in. This is Darice. I have a day job that I'd like to transition out of, and I've been working with a creative writing coach on a program, which has been taking more time than I expected, but it's been great. And I found myself trying to apply for another writing related job, and I just couldn't find the time to do it all and do them all well. And so I ended up just not really working on the job application. And but I can relate to that feeling of not wanting or not being able to do it perfectly, you know, wanting to show up in all three of these spaces, like, and bring my full self to all three. And I just couldn't do it physically. Like, you know, my body was just like, we need a break. And just but I'm stuck in that, well, but if I don't make the time to apply for another job or do other work, like, how am I going to get out of this situation? You know, like, so I found myself in that loop.
Yeah. You know, and I think too, you know, especially, you know, when we collaborate with people, and there's a lot of different energies in a space, and, you know, you can do your best, you can do everything, you know, to show up. And, you know, it's kind of like, how do we show up? You know, and like you're saying, Doris, you know, you can show up like your passion. I'm working with this writing coach. It's amazing. This other thing, you know, you have to do it, but how much can you get into the body? How much can you really show up to move something ahead? And sometimes I think, especially for females, you know, if something goes wrong, it's like even a client was saying to me, somehow it was her fault that the virus is happening. So, so somehow, it's my fault that it didn't work out, but, it's very interesting because the story that I wanted to tell is one connected to the door and the door of divinity and what that means, the door of divinity. And let me just let my dog in, talking about the door and wanting to get into the door, scratching at the door. So I got a call from someone that the family was actually at the hospital saying the last rites were given, and the person had the virus and they were totally dying. And so the family had said bye. Family had come home, and I get the call. And so it was very interesting. I worked with the person was now in a coma, and I took the person, the spirit, up to the door, what we call the door to divinity. And this connects with us all, in creating anything new. But I took him up to the door, and at that door, I showed him the way through, and connecting him into a different energy than what his reality is. And then I worked with bringing that energy back into the body. So he was in a coma for 1 month, totally unconscious. He came out of that coma a few weeks ago, and it was amazing because he remembered everything. And he was on the news, and he said that in his family, they were doing vigils every night, in this communication. And so he woke up out of it and said, I was at like the door, like the door. And I was talking to God, and that what God was is kind of like a reflection, more of a feeling, but a reflection of kind of even himself. And he said that, I was reviewing my life, reviewing kind of all of the pictures kind of that were reflected to him, kind of looking through this door. And in the reviewing process, he realized something about his life. And he talks about this, that I was, I'm a businessman. I was into perfection. I was all about making money, getting things done. His whole life really wasn't about his family, but more about what he could achieve and, how he can show up kind of in business. And so he had such an experience, and this is what I call kind of this wholeness. And this is the book Emil and I wrote, where I put it on here about pre-ordering the book, but it's called The Business of Being, because he had been in his whole life in survival, trying to make a living, an A-type person, so much energy, this perfect stuff. Having this experience, he brought it back into the body, and he looked glowing. He looked like this different person, and said, it's not about any of that. He goes, from now on, my whole life has changed. What I'm changing in my life is, it is about connection. It is about being together with my family, this communication, this relationship. These are type of words, so having such an experience kind of out of the body. Then what I see a lot with people coming back from a coma, you can have that experience going through the door, collect up that energy, bring it back into the body, and now his life is totally different. And I think this is kind of what we're all faced right now. How are we going to show up here in a new way? And by fully kind of dropping out of the mind, because what puts us in survival, like in this book, The Business of Being, we looked in companies and with clients where when we're in survival, it's about perfect pictures. We are, or we're responding, we're reacting to, the external environment where our hearts close off. Like, I got to make this money. I got to be perfect. I got to do these things. And we're having to have these 4 kind of coping strategies, this fighting or fleeing or freezing or pleasing. And so, a lot of us just respond to life in survival. And now, especially from 2 days ago, the energy has really shifted. And it is about what this guy did. Like, I'm here in a new way. And how to be here in a new way, I am fully going to kind of drop into my heart, be in my body. That's easier kind of said than done, but placing my attention on what's important. And that's what he said, business is not important. It is about how am I connecting to people? How am I going to relate with them? And here we are all together, wanting to be in this kind of wholeness, relating, connecting, relationship in a whole new way. And inner well-being is really the game that we want to play, how we can be kind to ourselves when something fails. Or it's not even a failure I see. It's kind of like our mind sees it maybe as a failure. But when you drop in, I bet that people on Instagram and Facebook that were able to join got a lot out of it and experienced something. And so kind of what our viewpoint is of this connection and how we can feel and be with one another is kind of this whole new opportunity of, I think, where we're at. And I don't want to just keep talking, but I just wanted to tell you that miracle story.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. I have a question about that. So the last conversation we had, I think the last conversation we had, we were talking about the veil and what the veil is. And then through that conversation, we were talking about the door. So just for people, for everybody that's maybe people that are just joining too, can you describe the veil and the door and kind of a little bit more expand on what you mean by those words?
Yeah, so the veil is, it's between worlds, the spirit world and our world. And so at certain times of year, the veil gets very thin. And so what that means is our ancestors and spirits, it's like touching them, but they influence us. And it gives us the opportunity to really change the way, like you were saying, Susie, like this perfect picture, that doesn't necessarily just come from you. It comes from your genetic line and how that was played out, and or maybe even, you know, your parents and you having to be perfect. And so when you're not and this opportunity allowed kind of the backspace to come up, okay, maybe I'm not perfect. It allows us to clear that picture out of, you know, our space in order to really be here in a new way. So the veil means how our relatives are really here, how they influence us. And if we can be aware of that, we can start to see that our automatic responses, kind of what we're reacting to in survival, is basically kind of where they got stuck, and then it gets inherited and we play that out. And so the door, this is where even if people are alive, taking clients up to the door, kind of moving them through the door, it is giving them an experience of, it is like the Garden of Eden, where you can experience and feel wholeness, because we are at a point, everyone's at a point now. You will live your life in duality, and that means it is of the mind. That means when we drive our attention out, you are only seeing the black or white, the negative or positive, and how you see is how you create. Or you choose, I'm going to place my attention within, and by doing that, now I could start to see from wholeness. And it's more than just seeing, it's feeling. Like he knew that connections with people are the most important thing. But when we're in survival, we close the heart, and then we get disconnected from our heart, break that relationship. So we're unable to be here in the body in a new way. So the door is actually where I take even somebody, even if they're, you know, like your dad took him up to the door, kind of showed him his ancestors, even through the door, you know, kind of pictures. He was working on several different pictures, if you remember, and things that he was anchored into of why he wasn't leaving, like his, you know, there was like 3 or 4 pictures, right? And so by helping collect up, getting out of, let's say he had a perfect picture, he would have to get out of that perfect picture in a way to go and to blow the picture, to clear the picture, because it's these pictures that get us stuck in the old way, and we want to be here in a new way, be free of all these pictures, be able to, live like hearts open and expand. And like, let's ask, even because that happened, the Doris and Susie, because that happened, I'm going to be here in a new way. That's all you know. And just even asking that, you're going to start to see the new way that you show up, and then the external world shows up.
So as you were describing that, Kim, I kind of got a new relationship to it, thinking about, there are definitely moments like deep in meditation, and they don't always have to be deep. It can just be, I've been meditating a few minutes. Sometimes it can be a long time, where I've, sort of lost any sense of self and just felt completely connected to what I would call the divine or light, or I'm sure it's different for everybody, but non-duality, essentially, right? And it does have you come back to your dualistic lifestyle in a different way. Would you call that an experience of going up to the door?
I think that is a good experience. I see that. Yes, in that way. I think intentionally, kind of when you kind of raise up to a different frequency. When you can raise up to a higher vibration, then you can bring it into the body. So I think too, that's a good description of how just being in your body, kind of being in the space, you start to experience this feeling of wholeness, which what I call heart. And that really is what brings us here in a new way. And that's creating from wholeness. But most people are in this survival strategy, right? Of they're either fighting, fleeing, freezing, or pleasing. And how that manifests, it manifests, if you tend to fight a lot, you tend to be a narcissist, and we're all a combination of each. Or, if you're pleasing, you're a codependent. And if you are, obsessive compulsive, these are strategies, right? Like, I'm going to be obsessive compulsive in order to control the environment because I got to have everything perfect. Or disassociating is, too much pain in the body, and I'm going to check out. And completely, like this person losing the body, disconnecting, checking out, no communication. So what brought him in was this communication that was set up where he could go up, he could bring something in, go up, bring something in. And then if you could collect up enough energy, and we can do this here alive, we want to go and have this experience so we can blow these pictures out of our body.
So it's funny that you just said that, because Susie put in the chat, will you give us an experience of going to the door on this call?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're ready for that or if you can do that, but
of
you have
course
a request.
Of course I'm ready. And, and here I want to, a client just texted me, and I want to just read you this, because this is a good example, in her experience of what happened is, she was, and she said I could share this, she couldn't get on, but she was with her partner who had cancer, and this person, very toxic kind of person, she gave, she healed, so much energy extending out, and now here she has cancer, right? And so, this is what she said, and this is very important because it kind of gives us perspective. And, and then too, I was going to say, Val and I were talking about this of next week, if people want healings on certain things, or if a person is experiencing something where we can all be kind of giving somebody a healing. So is this okay if I read this?
Yeah.
Okay. So she said, on my best days, I'm genuinely neutral, centered and balanced and accepting what is. On my bad days, I'm struggling to do my best. And I don't want to be in this fight. Her backspace, meaning the block stuck pictures that continue to come up for her. I'm frustrated with the lag time of receiving the life I want. I'm tired. I'm always having to feel like the strong one. I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of being disappointed in love. I'm desperate to be touched and felt, held and nurtured and protected. I am frustrated in this illness. And people don't know health until kind of it comes about. And then she gives me her intentions, and but that is a perfect example of, when you are not kind of touched, loved, or when your heart has closed, the body stops existing. And this is why going through an experience, we have to be very open-hearted, very kind to ourselves, because we can inflict kind of this pain and punishment on ourselves. And I'll tell you what, the spirit checks out. The spirit is not necessarily connected. And if we are bashing it, it is out. And then that heartbreak happens for us. So let's do a process, and maybe some people can just say to, I don't know, maybe what your intentions are. You can maybe even write those, or something that, I don't know, your next step. Maybe the next step, that way you could start to experience it during this week of what you would like for a next step. And maybe how you would pose that in a question is, maybe what is coming up, like the perfect picture, or Doris, it's like really moving and being in this whole new life of this creative writer and fully showing up for yourself. And is there anything else that people have too? That way I can, say hello to that when we go to the door.
Yeah, I think, so connected to so much of this is my perfectionist concept means I focus on optimism and don't always embrace the traumas that I'm experiencing. Like my best friend had to tell me to stop and pause and embrace the fact that I've been overcoming lots of trauma in the last few years. And until someone else mirrored that back to me, I wouldn't even face my own traumas. And it's not that I try so hard to own them that I own them from a place of power, but it doesn't mean I drop into them.
That's right.
And so that energy, I feel like it connects so deeply to what Susie was talking about. It just, I move from the shock of the experience into action and overcoming, and don't necessarily integrate.
That's right. And now it is about dropping down, dropping deep, really dropping kind of really seeing it, feeling it. This is that really feeling it, and the ability to move, to keep movement happening kind of in it, not necessarily, like you said, act, or the reaction is survival. The reaction, I'm just going to keep going, and then you create with the same old backspace picture, right? But that's right. Dropping down, dropping deep, because truth is coming up for all of us to confront. And it's kind of hard to look at times. So this feeling is very important, Well, or do you guys want to do a little, we'll just do something quick, Okay. So just go ahead and close your eyes and just start to focus on your heart and focus on your breath. And just so the body feels safe in doing this, start to move your heart, kind of the energy of your heart, down into the planet. So the body can feel like it is solid on its foundation. So the more we move our energy down, it's like a rocket we can blast out. And start to just say hello to Mother Earth, and your attention moving down gets you grounded. And as you start to ground, just allow the energy in your body to release. Maybe the energy of responsibility, or I don't know, just the failure, whatever is in your space, whatever feelings and emotions, just start to let it go. And as you let that go, the planet's energy starts to come up through your feet and your legs and into the base of your spine to be in relationship with you and to give you new energy, new fuel. And just allow the circuit to move from, you dropping energy down into the planet, and her updating you, kind of bringing you here in present time as we start to move our way up and out. And I'm just saying hello to each one of your spirits. And from our heart, imagine just kind of shooting up like a rocket. And as we start to move up, I want you to imagine seeing the sun. And that sun represents kind of collecting up your energy. And let's just start to, because I'm watching how far you guys can go. And we need energy to do this. So if you just imagine a sun, it starts to collect your energy out of pictures, out of your past, out of future pictures, so that you can have 100% of your energy moving in this process. And just imagine that sun kind of shoots up right in front of us. It's like this golden ball, clearing the way, clearing the path. And you can imagine it as this kind of golden stairwell that we are moving up through and on. And at the door, we kind of move to the veil, but there's a door. And at each side of the door, you can just imagine two golden guides and just acknowledge kind of them. And I am just having them hook into you, not hook into you, but supporting you. And we are just asking, as we move through the veil, as we move through the door, that, you can leave the door anytime. You can leave the space, but they kind of open, they open it for us. And so, and before we go in too, I want you to maybe even have an intention. And if you don't have an intention, just maybe set it at just this openness to receive more than you can imagine, to collect up truly your higher self, your truth, kind of who you came here to be, where you can fully experience that here in the body, that we can know who we are in a different way kind of after today. And so they're connected through you kind of with this golden cord. And as we start to walk through, I want you to just kind of imagine this place as a garden. And I want you to just say hello. Hello to the energy in this space. And just hold out your hand. And on your hand, invite kind of a emerald green energy onto your hand. It's living light, it's energy. And just say, acknowledge it, just say hello to it. And you can even ask it a question. Maybe, what's my next step in this time? Or just ask it, what does it want to create? How does it want to move kind of in you, through you? It's more about this connection to this energy and the communication. And in this space, I want you to drop in your heart up here, but more feel the vibration. Where I want you to notice kind of the abundance and how everything is growing at the same time. Like there is a ton of energy. And there is this feeling where you are connected to all things. And then I want you to even say hello to, maybe it's an ancestor that you know has passed, but maybe one that hasn't. And if you don't know, just say hello to someone on your genetic line. and say hello to, because they're in spirit form, that I always get into agreement with creating with my ancestors because they can help. So just, in that kind of example, maybe say hello to your genetic line of like this whole new way of creating beyond a perfect picture, creating, with pure energy. And I want you to just imagine now flying kind of with this energy, like moving. And move into the vibration that you need, your next kind of step of vibration. Okay, now everyone's starting to match. And even if you don't know, or if you're not connected, the mind doesn't know how to understand this. I want you to, ask for kind of this, your guides to show up. Your guides are already there. But just say hello to your guides. And have your guides like fill you, in a sense, with this wave energy of support, of love, of something so beyond however you felt here. It's like the coma, you've got to have an experience where you feel this deep connection, and you don't even have to necessarily feel it, the energy's working, but just open up, open your heart, in a sense, up there, so that you are this experience. And I always ask, it's very important in a way to start to ask for even your guides and your ancestors to do something for you. Maybe it is, I don't know, maybe somebody can ask something so I can watch. It's very important, this communication. And if you don't know what to ask, that's fine. I always, keep very open as far as just being kind of in this frequency and vibration. But if you are, it's like the person with the health issue. Okay, I want to be here in wholeness. I want to be here in a new way. I want to have my relationships so connected. And really have this energy, the energy that we're bringing in, so connected into the body. And I'm just going to start from here. I'm going to start to drop the energy in. You can stay here, but like a cord going down into your body. So your body starts to match this vibration up here. Does anyone notice anything, or would anyone like to share something? Especially maybe, I don't know, a question, so I can guide you through it.
I was asking, what do I get to heal? Where do I get to focus my healing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I left the garden and kind of started seeing some very strong pictures. I feel like I'm in the stars above the garden, and I'm getting some very, very strong imagery. And the message I'm getting is the fear of being left behind or being abandoned.
Abandoned, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, it's very interesting because you're working your neck. Your neck is really lighting up, because this is also the fear of speaking your truth, like really using your voice now to have this energy fully come through, and kind of in your next steps too, of even speaking your animal cards, or, just this, you're actually hooking up a channel that is very connected and direct now. You know, as opposed to kind of this break, kind of the abandonment is the separation. That's the duality of like, not sure. And so, and two, like coming out of that door, this energy is a lot for people a lot of times, or you may not even, it's very hard to communicate about this. But, you know, let's just move out the door for a moment. Or let me just ask, does anyone else have anything that's coming up or what they asked?
I'd like to say something, Kim.
Yeah.
And I also just want to say to Jennifer, you know, I understand she is releasing trauma right now and how physically and emotionally and mentally exhausting that can be, right? So I'm going through a lot of it too right now. And I just want to say, take such good care of yourself right now, right? Let yourself just rest so deeply if trauma is coming through. And what I always like to remind myself is I'm safe here and now, right? In my cozy bed with my down comforter and my 3 pillows, right? And it's so nice. We have refrigerators and hot showers and, you know, people who love us and FaceTime and Zoom to stay connected as we go through this. And to be able to talk about it is also so healing. So I just want to say, Kim, I'm so grateful for this beautiful, safe container you have established for all of us to be able to talk about all this. And whenever anybody speaks, I always feel so touched by their experience. And, you know, just, I just want to say I'm having similar types of things and working through the trauma and letting go of preconceived ideas of how my life has to be for it to be good. You know, what does it take for me to be happy? There's so many things that are just going away right now. Oh, I thought I needed that. Come to find out, nope. So Kim, I want to say thank you. And I just want to show you guys, this happened to me, Kim, when you were, so you just took me on a total journey. And when you said, bring in your guides, I swear to God, you guys, I was standing in front of this beautiful statue, Kuan Yin, Chinese, goddess of love and compassion. And she's like, you know, like almost as tall as I am. And when you said, bring in your guides, and Kim, you know how many Kuan Yins I have, right? All over my house. It's just, and so love and compassion is what came in for me so much, for myself and others. Love and compassion and flowing with what is. So I'm going to stop talking right now, but I just want to say I had a deeply powerful experience and I feel very connected to all of you beautiful women. And thank you.
Thank you.
So Kim, I just wanted to say that I sold my business of 18 years, almost 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years ago in May, and I'm just stuck. So I just need to be unstuck. And through that exercise, I actually saw that there was a door. So that's awesome. But
It's really awesome.
But anyways, so I don't know if you
that's right. And you know, especially like you said, you know, leaving something old, right? And how to move into something new, and you know, kind of up in the space. You know, I want everyone to get a color kind of what they're looking at, and maybe just kind of call out the color, because I want to take this to another level about bringing it fully in the body. So what colors maybe are illuminating for you?
deep turquoise.
Green.
Yeah, purple, deep purple.
Rose.
Violet.
Yeah.
Green.
Very interesting. It's like that, you know, all the violets, the connection, the green, like I want you to feel that emerald green, like feel how there is just, it's saturated with energy, and that violet, the pure being connected and connected to wholeness, connected to everyone. That just like in the guy in the coma said, it is all about being here for people, being connected, and all of us kind of how we're going to now bring this kind of into the body. So I want you to even just imagine, start to collect up this energy and start to bring it down in the body, like a kite. I always imagine my spirit kite, and I just kind of dive bomb that in and start to completely fill in your aura and bring that fully, into your heart, and also into, you have to always bring it into the planet, because actually it is kind of this energy up in the stars that the planet needs. And so if you can bring it fully down into, through your grounding cord into the planet, into Mother, then, now she can fully, what happens is that energy starts to really come up through the body in physical form, because the energy up there is so subtle, so soft, so nurturing, that it's very hard to talk about that energy, but it is more this feeling, and we want to fully give it to her. And then in relationship, she births us, she nurtures us, and allow her to nurture and give kind of the body a new way of being here, where we can start to see now, even today, tomorrow, how we're going to show up, how this energy is going to start to show up in us. And even from, this space, this is where it's extremely, I can't tell you enough how important it is to have your genetic line or guides working on something, because if we don't have that communication kind of from the heart, because we're all connected, we're communicating, like us even co-creating together this field of energy of where we know this. We can go up there and just ask, I want you to go up there again, go to the door, say hello, go through, and make it very simple. I'm asking for a miracle, or just being in the miracle energy, whatever that means. And, it's kind of, I see the garden. I see all these streams of colors and lights, like this fractal energy, and just kind of even be in it, move in it, and, get in collaboration with your guides and your ancestors, or whoever that you're connected to, and collect that up, move back through the door. Like I always kind of have that, it's like an IV, right? Like the person in the coma, that's the connection. It's easy to move up. It's easy to move down. A lot of times the communication gets broken between the body and the spirit, or even our ancestors. So we experience pain, we experience a disconnect. So just, you can feel it. Everyone just change. What colors, tell me this, go up there again and ask for something beyond what you know, the unknown. Ask for a miracle and see if the color's the same or if it changes, and just call out the color.
Pink,
Yeah.
Orange.
Yeah, right.
rainbow.
Yeah. Everyone first had upper loop colors, right? Green, purple, and now I can tell you're able to download it into the body now, and then collect that up, this woof, like really just allow that to flow down and in. And yes. And then you can just start to kind of be in your heart. When you're in your heart, it connects the above and below, and it actually, there's this circuit that's moving, and this continual connection and communication, because it's really about, the above and the below being in relationship through you, the conduit. And now we feel, I don't know how it feels. How does it feel? Kind of the access to that information.
A lot of energy.
A lot of energy. And what I always ask too in this space is, what do you want to show up today? It's kind of like, if I could have shown you this person that was in the coma beforehand, his life, so perfect, rich, had everything, worked all the time, but the way he's glowing, and this is a person that had diabetes, like a lot of health issues, fully boom. It's all about being here. And now just open even your hearts and imagine wave energy connecting to each kind of, I always put a diamond out in front of us, just connecting to, saying hello to each of your miracles, saying hello that we've walked through the door. Now that a new life is beginning, that it's happening for you, it's happening for me. And in this, that we see from wholeness, that we're out of kind of that, the book, kind of the business of being is about getting out of survival, getting out of duality, and how to fully, be in this vibration. And it's a choice now. And then, you can kind of come out of it and maybe share if anyone wants to share anything.
I kind of want to share something just with Denise that occurred when you were talking. For me, sometimes I think it's so important to be okay in the unknown, right? And maybe it feels like you've been in the unknown for longer than you'd like to be, right? And I know I get very uncomfortable there, so I can completely relate.
Right.
Looking for like, what's next? And, sometimes the answer doesn't show up on the timelines we want.
Yeah, but the unknown, like the mind is looking for it in a very different way. The mind looks for it and it's like in a timeline, in a linear line. The heart creates in a circle and it opens up a portal. So actually things drop in, and that's kind of where we just stuff dropping in. And our mind may think, it's not going the way we want, but if we can really, it's all about the unknown, trusting the heart and really feeling that, committing to that. Now we know we're looking for something new because people don't know how to see. So, they're looking for something new, but they only know what they know based on what they know. So how are they going to see what's new?
Right.
Right. So our agreement is really seeing the unknown. That's when we radically have new lives.
It's like trying to tell somebody who's colorblind like you don't know what red is. If you're colorblind, you can't. Yeah.
And it's this openness, right? That like
Right.
We're all here, so open, and just being in the space, something new can show up. Like people may not realize it, but we are co-creating right now. Does anyone else have? But that's really good, Val, because I love the unknown, but I think
You don't.
What's that?
A lot of people don't love the unknown.
I don't.
Yeah, but you know what? I think though, when you work in the unknown for so long and you trust it, something shows up.
Right.
That's what it is. It's like,
So how would you suggest somebody learn to trust if they're not really used to that?
Yeah. Sorry.
All of our dogs are really getting. He had to come sit in my lap.
Well, you know why is because we just went up. So he's there to ground you, right?
Anyway, trust. How do you develop trust of the unknown?
When you have to first recognize that you're in survival, and what that means is, am I in fight, flight, free, or freeze? And then you have to recognize how you play those patterns out. Am I controlling it like an OCD, or we're a bit of each, right? A narcissist, a codependent, kind of, because when we're any of those, we're in survival. And so when we turn our attention inward, it is about now we can start to open up to the game of inner navigation and wellness. And this is the book. And by moving inward now, what happens is it's an internal compass. So it may feel kind of like where you don't know where to go, but the moment you put your attention here, your field opens up, and now you're setting yourself up for something to come in. It's more the setup that we want. And our attention's going to go out. It's about our energy going out and in, kind of, and this movement happening. And so by continually opening the heart, you start to feel, you start to get into, like I could be in a very stressful situation. And like Susie, like I think last week or something, like Suzanne knows because I'm doing a course for her and, Facebook didn't work. And then I'm like, something else didn't work. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it on Instagram. It's like, and I'm going to keep my heart open and, I'm going to run that wave energy out. And when you do that, something changes, and if you have enough times of doing that, you'll start to notice, is my heart open or closed? If it's closed, I'm going to place it here. I'm going to commit to myself. I'm going to, get the energy in my body. And by doing that, it will happen. And then you've had enough experience by going through that, whoa, a miracle can happen. Something you didn't expect, because when something shows up that we don't want, kind of, our backspace of, it's like my pre-order book. Isn't this funny? So people are getting on to pre-order the book and my name's not on it. I'm like,
Yay!
my name's not even on it. My clients are like, is this your book? And my partner's name's on it. But, somehow I'm a healer. I'm always given, not being seen. And I'm like, okay, this is my backspace. This is showing up because, it's just happened in the past. So it's like, all right, you got to respond. Kind of the response creates the reality of, all right, kind of this openness creates a lot of movement. And
so what if you feel like, because I mean, it's going on 2 years and I feel like my whole reason, I just was open to whatever was going to happen. And like, am I doing it wrong? Because 2 years into it and I'm like, oh my God, something's got, like, every aspect of my life is totally upside down.
Well, and so this is where we want to look, kind of what's showing up, kind of that's upside down. Because, because like what's showing up that's upside down, just the total opposite of what you want. I mean, this is where in session we go and we can create something. Like I know clients are on the phone that, have had this experience of, like, it appears to be everything's closed, but it could even be one picture in your space. Just, sometimes it's just pictures. It's like the picture of, I'm not even seeing, here's a book, but my name's not even on it. It's like, oh, that's a backspace picture, of helping everyone else and whatever. But yeah, so we could definitely, like even in this session, or maybe some clients are on the phone that could even speak to that about the process of even being in session and how maybe that's happened, I don't know if anyone wants to share anything.
Well, one of the things I learned from Kim is that, when that chaos is happening for me, that like, that's my backspace energy that I can use to create something new. Like, she's taught me how to like take those feelings, that anxiety, that fear, and like move it through the heart to create something different.
Yeah, it's fuel. It's kind of like where things appear to be stuck and stored, they can't move. It is actually the fuel to move you forward. And that's what I kind of do in session, is clear that stuff so you get movement. And people are creating in this time now. They're really creating. So, but it's hard when you're in it because it's like, well, what am I doing wrong? And the harder you push, the worse it may get, right? Is that your experience? Like, you've been focused, you've been doing a lot of action,
I think the first year I did tons of action. My dad died too. So, and then it's been like in the last 6 months, I've been just like,
okay.
Like maybe, so I haven't been frustrated until lately, so I gave it time, but it's
you know what? Okay. So this is why you're on the call too, because you're your dad. So, okay. What happens, and I can't tell you enough that a lot of times when people pass, they hook into our energy field. They don't mean to. They're trying to help. They're trying to, give. But when they're in our field, things don't work. Whatever we do doesn't seem to work, and it's very important. Kind of, this is where I want you to communicate to your dad and just say, even to your dad, go find me an opportunity. Just moving them out of your space, because spirits, they mess up everything. I'm just saying they mess up everything. We've talked a lot. You can look at the other kind of things too, but they will stop all movement. And this is why when Val and I were working, it was like, this is so important, because I see a lot of times when people pass for years and years and years, people get stuck. And spirits really think they're helping. And
that's the last thing he said was, I can do more for you up there than I can down here, is what he said. So
well, and we have to kind of set the relationship up a little differently, where
right.
there is more space and he doesn't quite come into your field, because it is true kind of he's spirit, but you gotta put spirits to work, otherwise they start invading and they don't mean to. Isn't it very interesting to your bird on your neck?
He's always there. He's just
but the communication, right?
Yeah.
And just the hello, it's really
I am going to be conscious of time. We're at 2:03. I also just have to tell you, the book that Kim is talking about is in the chat window. So Kim has a book out, and pre-order is available right now, right, Kim?
Yeah, it's for pre-order, and that way we just opened it up 3 days ago, and I think we have 240, and we need to get 500 to get an international publisher. And it's an amazing book to really identify kind of when we are in, these coping fear strategies, and how to go into the game of internal navigation and
I
transformation.
can't wait to read it. Kim, I'm so psyched it's doing so well.
Thank you so much for your support. I really
You are so welcome. Now, is your name on it now?
Yeah.
You can change it, right? This is important.
I had to update my backspace. It's on the site. It wasn't on the site. So, but and two, there's a lot of, if you guys can put your emails down too, that way you can, if you go to my YouTube, Kim Bellissimo at YouTube, you can see courses there that really have so much information about a lot of other subjects. And this business of being is about work, and so anyway, that way I can keep you posted on, I do 3 courses a week. Suzanne has the Living Room Collective, and I do some courses for her, and so I've been really kind of donating a lot of stuff now, and so I just would appreciate flow.
Yes, that's so important. And so actually, I'm going to put my thing on. I wanted to second something that somebody said earlier about using our backspace pictures to create with, right? And Kim and I we've worked together. She's helped me through so many things. She feels like a partner in so many things that I've done in my life. And creating flow for many of us who choose to do work where we are helping other people, so often we're not asking for the flow back. And this is a really good example, Kim. You are doing it bravely. It's hard even for us to say, hey, can you help support me? But she does such beautiful supportive work, as you all know. I mean, I think she's touched all of our lives. And that was a journey, Kim. This thing, I needed this today so bad. I just want to say, but I just want to encourage everybody, please buy her book now, because sometimes we think we're going to do it and we don't get to it. But it's like, I think it's important when you put that out, Kim, for asking for it. So I want to support that ask.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to read it. Can you do a little snippet? That's one thing I think would be good when you're asking people to,
I have been
buy it.
Yeah.
do like give us a juicy paragraph,
Yeah.
you know, of your words. We want to hear from your partner as well, but you know, it's just like you have so much beautiful wisdom. Using the backspace is such a one that always works with me. So anyway, I'm aware of time too. I'm going to stop talking. Thank you.
Let us, any requests for next week about what we might cover next week? We went pretty organic today and it worked out pretty well. So we could just do that again, but any requests?
I like organic.
Thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming. And
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also,
bye.
all friends are welcome.
Thank you, Susie. Later. Thank you.
Say bye, Nico.
Bye.